firstly, nibahle guys.
Uhamba ukubona namhlanje ngincedisa ijini kodwa ijini ndandiyinxibele ngoba na 10 years.
Oh.
Drink is forever. Money is temporary.
But indaba yami straight lana, there's no going back.
Hey, Antoine, sharp failure.
How's it, Forge?
Can you remember how this all started?
Like it was yesterday, riding in my dad's bakkie. Those were the good old days.
Yeah, for me, it was my dad's car that was supposed to be a Vura.
Yeah, we were young back then, Forge.
Bro, we've grown now. I keep my papers in order, and when it's time, I know what it's worth. I even get excited about new wipers and decent petrol consumption. Unleaded 93.
You're joking, Forge. Every ride was part of the journey.
So, dream car still on the list?
Always. But I might have to plan till I'm 60 to get it. But I'm in no rush. Right now, I'm just enjoying the drive.
Yeah, growth, bro.
Namanje, Forge. Growth.
Namanje.
What does it take to go from grassroots to greatness? Is it skill, a helping hand, maybe a whole lot of luck? I'm here today with a whole bunch of people who know a thing or two about making dreams a reality.
And action.
I just wanted to say firstly, nibahle guys. I mean, look at yourselves. See how Usbisisa Zuma lapho with the haircut. Who is your fashion inspiration anywhere in the world in football?
There's some guy who lives in Tabeja. He plays for Hyper FC. His name is Siseko Manona.
Oh, well.
Local is like not Lizes about Jules Kunde or Bellingham. No. Local imnandi. Oh, Papachi?
Mna ndizithandela ibrand nje ethile kodwa ndizoyibiza kuba kaloku silapha. Kodwa ke uhamba ukubona namhlanje ngincedisa ijini kodwa ijini ndandiyinxibele ngoba na 10 years.
Oh. And Fortune, just look at his Instagram, he looks like a model. I mean, even look at the way his beard is cut, man. I mean, look at that. It looks like a bafage razor, bafage ruler, but in the straight lana, there's no going back.
The runway in Paris is waiting for you, my brother.
Yeah, if I'm aligning, so in everything that we do, follow the lead.
So the shoes must be red, the shirt must be yellow, and the pants must be blue.
See, that's one thing about me. I'm a very easy person, that flexible. And I think the way I live my life outside of football is the same way I approach my playing style in the field of play. I'm that easy. In as much as I'm self-aware and I know that how good I am, but I also follow the instructions and understand what the situation requires of me. So you can give me your sneakers or whatever. I'll make sure I'm presentable. I think presentation is very important. It's a way of showing respect.
You know, the drip and that money thing, it goes to a certain level. Drip doesn't necessarily mean you need to spend the thousands. You can look good in a nice piece and wear it. It's the confidence.
Well, now you've got a clothing brand.
Yeah.
What inspired the fashion thing?
My way of giving back. There was a little young girl that came to me and she drew a portrait of me wearing a cap. So she literally just put MG and she showed it to me. And then that's where I draw my inspiration from. And later in life, she needed to go to a high school. And I thought, let me just make a cap that obviously has MG with her, obviously her inspiration. And I took it from there. I made caps, and then a certain percentage went to her school fees. So I said to the community, buy this from me, but you're still helping one of our own. And that for me spoke in volumes, and I never look back. And I live the brand, I eat the brand, I literally sleep the brand.
Drip is forever. Money is temporary.
Yeah.
The drip, the sweat equity that we put in is a lifelong journey. So it stays there forever. And with that, if you can have that in mind, and with the financial education that we are actually acquiring here, he may be young, but this is the right time for us and everyone to actually support this narrative.
When they get their bonuses, they know I'm going to ask, what have you done with your money? Show me the pictures. Don't talk. I see you've got a nice watch, you've got nice shoes. You're allowed to spoil yourself. But remember, this football doesn't last forever.
Sia, do you make a little bit of pocket money? What do you do with it?
Pocket money. Let's say we are playing very far from our township. I will buy something to eat when I'm going and when I'm coming back.
If they can start now and prepare their journeys, so that whenever he tends to get that paycheck, that fat paycheck, he already knows what to do and everything is in place. Education is important, and that's why FNB is here, to bring that pipeline from grassroots to greatness.
You must take off the body so that it can take care of you.
The player of Negas by Landia diet, I can't pay food.
If your stomach is happy, your heart is happy.
And action.
Coach Bonga, who's your football best?
Mlungisi ngubani?
Mlungisi ngubani? Sia?
Emil Footboy.
That it has to be everyone that shares the ball with me.
Bongani Kumalo.
Right now, Darwin Gonzalez.
Currently, Kabela Mukwena.
Ashola.
Tulani Zandamela.
Who was a hero to you growing up, and who did you look up to?
Back in the day, there was no woman footballer that I looked up to, but the one who put a smile on my face was the late John Shoes Mshweo.
Oh, wow.
I drew my inspiration from quite a number of players, but one that stood out for me, and because it was relatable, because we come from the same neighborhood, would be Kagiso Snamela.
Growing up in Soweto, I used to stay in the same street as Coach Rulani. So when growing up, people would tell me that, no, there was this coach who did this and this. And people at Makasi knew that I was talented, and they kept on motivating me, you know. And they kept on making examples about him. And I also wanted to be like him, you know, be a role model to the kids. And even now, I'm not there yet, but that's where I want to go, actually.
Who was that person for you?
For me, John Terry was someone that I idolized. I grew up in a footballing family. You know, my dad played. So from growing up, knowing that he was a player, and my brother and I grew up playing together through amateur football in Benoni, and then that was always the thing, and everyone around us and the family was like, you need to work hard if you want to be a professional.
Coach Bonga, when are you at the core phase of grassroots development? Diet. How important is diet in getting players to perform at the highest level?
Umhlekazi baleka kakhulu ngoba kaloku awuzove uthi umusho uthi amagwinya beyilanga mhlawumbe sithi 30 ngeke ukwazi noperform. Into ye-diet balekile nakasesiye esikhosini siyaxelelwa ukuba ii-players ezingadieting ngendlela e-right azizukwazi ulasta kakhulu. Yabona nje soveze benenteshe ezifana nathi singoocoach, kanti iplayer funeka yazi uba laa nto ye-diet iyayihlonipha kakhulu. Yabona ke ezilokishini ke nasezilalini akho nto ya-diet ngoba kuyafana noba ungathi mabatya i-future life, sorry uba ndibiza amagama, ukuzothiwa phaa kulaa mzi ungathi sidinga iparafini apho sabe siqala ngezondo, zinto esozithini ezo. So usho ukuthi isinkwa maybe 4 slices of bread nebhotoro, it doesn't work? Mandikwenzela umzekelo. Xa beza apha kwifestival basuka eKimberley, eMaritzburg, eMthatha, eGeorge naseThoyandou. Yabona ziculture ezingafaniyo. Aba babethu bazophaka ukutya kube ngaka. Andithi nathi asifuni ngathi siyabahlukumeza uyaqaphela. Ufumanise bangoku kusukwa apha ehotele kuyo emabaleni mhlawumbe kudlalwe UJ. Balela apha ebhasini. First half abakwazi perform bayozela uyavala ndishoyo. So ibalekile lento imentionayo ye-diet kakhulu. Yabo umuntu ba mazicingela qale ngecereal nje. Athe some cereal athathe noba sesosilayanya naloo nto nathi sibagade ngendlela erayithi uba sele into ethile ungayiseli ethile awunotya kanje into ethile andifuna uzimenshina amagama kanti ndiyamosha kodwa ke into ebalulekileyo idiet umenshina into ebaluleke kakhulu.
I think if your stomach is happy, your heart is happy, you play well.
That's a good thing to say in front of the doctor.
I know it's not a good thing, but
The most important thing is exposure. I think exposure sparks motivation, that sparks the inspiration. And some are not exposed to that type of lifestyle and all of that. And you have to live with what you have.
Coach, you coach FNB Football First. Why is this job so important to you and the community around you?
Sasikhowusha thina ngekho kwanto esifumanayo qha for the love of the game kuba sibathanda abantwana uba mabangahambi bayosela bayotya ii-drugs bathini. So kwafika iprogram ka-FNB sabizwa kwathiwa masifake i-CV sazifaka i-CV ke kwathiwa kuzawuthathwa among South Africa yonke best of the best kujongwe nee-qualifications kakhusha. So nangena phakathi so ke ngoku nami itshintshe mna yatshintsha ubomi babantwana ekuhlaleni kwaye i-environment yasekuhlaleni. So kugcwala kuthe eRotal 250 abantwana eRotal ingase-FNB baqhube forever because utshintshe everybody iSouth Africa yonke ezinye iitim andizubiza amagama ezidlala kwa-professionals nee-players suka kule program ka-FNB. Enkosi.
Yeah, I keep on imagining myself ngi-pro player nginemali ngispenda kusiza ifamily yami kushintshe i-home situation yami thengele umama imoto like things like that. Yeah,
you can't do it alone. Like for Sia, you know, coach is guiding him now, and on the way we were talking about different aspects of what he'll face as he grows up in football. So it's not just about you must play well and that's all it takes. It's so many other things that we discussed, like the mental aspect. Now you just brought up the nutrition, the education, the physicality behind it. So I had a team growing up and I have a team now, basically in my family still.
Everyone set? Also, there was parties in camp.
There is stories I have to tell.
It was the guy that was fetching ice.
I know of players that went to university just to play in the Vasity Cup.
it's one of the best experiences for a female footballer in this country.
We turn it up actually.
So there was parties in camp.
Yeah, definitely. That one I don't want to lie about it. There's
Were
parties
you
in
the
camp.
DJ?
No, I used to carry the boom box.
So you the one now organizing the drinks?
I'm not that guy still, but I mean, there is stories I have to tell.
Knowing Lorenzo, let's be direct. It was the guy that was fetching ice.
I want Aisha to answer that one.
There was nothing.
She was organizer.
No, I was teaching.
There's a lot of flies. There was nothing.
Kolozu, can you confirm or deny?
Probably if you asked her about me, maybe it
She'll
would
give
be
you a
the
different
opposite.
answer.
Yeah, I've been in trouble.
Don't. I was
Aisha, what's it like playing varsity football?
I think it's one of the best experiences for a female footballer in this country. It's a tournament we all look forward to, especially as a student. I mean, the coverage and just the prestige of the tournament. Every team that goes into, you just want to win. You just want to be part of, your university. So we're just eternally thankful to FNB for giving us that opportunity and that platform to showcase ourselves.
So with the Vasity Cup gave us an exposure that tested our level of work ethic as a team. It's doing a lot for the community of student athletes because you can actually build up your profile as a player. We are playing and it's live, it's being broadcasted. You can get access to that footage, and it can help you in terms of drafting your player profile, so that people can see you. So I think it's really doing a lot for us.
Wendy Shongwe, we saw Wendy Shongwe at Varsity Football. We see many of the players at Varsity Football. I think it's different to club setup because you're now playing within a competition where you're testing yourselves against another university. And I think the rivalry between the universities is big. But the opportunity, when you go to the university club champs and the teams qualify for the Vasity Cup, it's like they've won the competition. That's how big it is. Because I know of players that went to university just to play in the Vasity Cup, and when Vasity Cup was over, they stopped playing. That's how big it is.
Tell us about the FNB varsity player experience.
We got to train with Cape Town City, so we're exposed to, the intensity that, it takes to be at a professional level, not just on the field, but, how they conduct themselves off the field, their nutrition, and, just how disciplined they are. They aren't waiting for someone to tell them what to do. So for me, that was very helpful. And another thing I thought was very helpful for me was the FNB training they gave us, in terms of branding yourself and how to conduct yourself. So I think that was very helpful.
Yeah, I think with the FNB varsity football experience was an educational experience for me because it allowed me to tap into life when football doesn't work out, and having to hear from past players, share their experiences. It somehow built a foundation to say, what, this is something that you can always refer to when things are not working out. And FNB has helped us, to start opening businesses, be crazy about your ideas and go for it. And if it doesn't work out, just keep going. As long as you fail, failure means you are learning. It was educational. I've never signed a contract. So at least now I have the education of saying, if you are presented a contract, this is how the contract should be. And also, if I were to look for an agent, I must know the necessary questions that I need to ask in order to validate if that agent is legitimate. And yeah.
It was very motivational for me because, growing up, you grew up idolizing people like Fortune, Morgan Gold, and Lorenzo. You'd actually see yourself playing there as a kid. And for you to get an encounter with them socially, face to face, it was a very huge and overwhelming experience. And it was very nice. It was a very nice experience for me.
When I look back, there weren't many opportunities back then, but the little that there was, we grabbed it with both hands. Now there are so many opportunities, and back in the day when I was playing, 99% of the players were unemployed. We had three players in the team, and I was one of the 3 that lost my job in the first camp. But when I look at the national team now, I look at educated players. We have players playing international who've also got degrees, so they've looked for life after football.
Most of women's footballers don't make money out of football, so it's so difficult for us. That's why we tend to try and balance school and football. At this moment in time, at least for me, my parents forced me to go to school, so I managed to grab 2-3 degrees. And at this moment in time, I've started planning for life after football. And yeah, through that, I think I'll be sorted once I stop playing.
Raise your hand if you've ever had to borrow money from a stranger.
Football is like therapy.
It's about more than anything what you do at the time you're still playing the sport.
You might get a setback, but it's about your comeback.
Wow. Guys, we're going to do rapid fire. So, raise your hand if you have ever had to pay for something and found out you didn't have your wallet.
Okay.
Raise your hand if you've ever run out of petrol. Wow. Raise your hand if you've ever had to borrow money from a stranger.
Wow.
Wow. Raise your hand if you've ran out of money 1 or 2 weeks after payday. Hey, you guys are good.
I like it.
I'm a big saver. I'm a big saver.
Leading up to the World Cup, Confed Cup squad. Tell me about that story and what happened.
I was in the national team. Fortunately enough, I got the call up to the Confed Cup team, which is the year before the World Cup. And 3 games before the season's about to end, I get one of the worst things is the injury. It was so heartbreaking that I was literally supposed to be here at the opening. I was here, and I broke down. I broke down into tears because I looked at the field and that was supposed to be me on the field, World Cup being in your country, and it comes once in a lifetime. It's fortunate for the players that play at a number of those things, but it came to our shores and I wasn't part of it. But the driving factor for me is there's a kid that was watching me. How do I come back? How do I say to that kid, overcome your obstacles if I can't do it? And that was my driving factor, that I've got my community backing me, and I've got a community that's watching me. What am I going to do? And the bounce back for me was phenomenal. Chusia and his dreams, you might get a setback, but it's about your comeback.
What's a footballing story in your life that even to this day you still think about and maybe wake up and you think, oh, wow, I survived something there?
I think I always wanted to play for the national team, and when our former president, the late Nelson Mandela, was released, I got the opportunity. My father had cancer and it went very quickly. And people always tell me that my father's watching from above, and I know he is, because his dream was for me to play for the national team. And he wasn't alive when it happened, but I know that we would have died a happy man knowing that I achieved that.
I have a close friend of mine. I can't mention the sport. I've just been told that she has cancer, man, you know? So just imagine from being a superstar, from being the best, from being a leader, and then the next day you found out you have to fight for your life. And it just shows how short our careers are. So it's about more than anything what you do at the time you're still playing the sport and how much of a difference you make in other people's lives. So which I think we have to think about that more than anything. We must make changes. We must change people's lives, and we have to be very influential as much as we can.
With football, you know, football is like therapy, you know. When you're out there, you forget about a lot of things, everything that's troubling you, everything that's going on with you. You literally forget everything. I mean, right now in my life, I think football is probably the most important thing that's helping me get through everything that I'm going through. So yeah, football has really played a huge role in my life.
Of all of the current players here, you're towards the end of your stint in this game. What's the plan after you hang up the boots and you decide my time's up?
I've thought about it, not in depth, but I'm not 100% sure right now. Just trying to make it last as long as possible. Yeah, I guess that's the main thing. That's for now where I see myself still fine, fit, and I don't know, those questions will be more serious maybe in another 2 years, I think. I'll start asking them. Yeah.
That moment came for you. How did you decide at that point that it was time and it was enough?
Look, it was very heartbreaking, sleepless nights. And when I didn't want to wake up and go to training, that enthusiastic wake up and say, I'm going to do my craft, that's when I knew that I think the curtain's about to close on my career. A sad place in one's career.
This football doesn't last forever. Make sure that you put away money for a rainy day. Make sure that when you stop playing one day, you don't have to go look for a shop in the supermarket, that you've invested the money. And I think that is the most important thing, making sure that you create opportunities for others, but also making sure as a coach, you're not just a coach because you're there to teach soccer, you're a coach because you care. So when we ask these questions, we want to make sure that one day they remember that they played football, but they got something else out of football that was not football, something else that will hold them for the rest of their lives, something that they can do for someone else. I always say, when you learn something, you have an obligation to share it with someone else.
My dream is to play on the professional level. Maybe go to Europe.
Ladies football is on the uprise, and I want to be an advocate.
The wish I have for women's football is to see a young girl just focusing on football and be able to provide for their families.
What is your wish, and Coach Bong, what is your wish for football in South Africa and across Africa?
Yo, mhlekazi wami, ingaske aba bantu banemali naba banika ithende ezinkulu bathi plawubheka ku-communities ngoba ku-rural kwi-township ema-suburb bathi plawubheka kwi-development ithi le nto umzi ongenabantwana mos uyatshabalala yabo uba sizawufa usheke bantu ungasheki mntu so uba nga-investwa pha kwi-development kwenziwe proper structure development
My dream is to play on the professional level. Maybe if it's working out good for me, maybe go to Europe.
Not maybe. One day.
One day I'll go to Europe.
I think the wish I have for women's football is to see a young girl grabbing a bag in the morning, going to gym, afternoon, going on the field and training, and not worrying about having to go to work, just focusing on football and be able to provide for their families. Yeah.
I'm very invested in school sports for both males and females. I feel like if more and more focus would be put in those young kids in schools and be trained as much as possible to become better human beings and better footballers. I believe in that, the pipeline from grassroots. We need to start there. And also, if the necessary knowledge can get to as early as possible to players like Usia, ukuthi bathole knowledge, because in as much as FNB can create platforms, their investor platforms and stuff, the knowledge to know that, yes, it is one thing to put your money away, we are still footballers, but there's also ways of using your money work for you. So that necessary knowledge for me.
A professional league, that is the dream. It might not happen in my lifetime, but that is the dream for each and every footballer in South Africa, women's footballer, because we see what we can do without a professional league on the continent to make sure that leagues are happening, and from there to professionalize the sport. More competitions for youth. I think there's too little football for youth footballers out there, internationally as well, especially on the continent. They only play when there's a qualifier. We're fortunate that we have Kosafa that plays as well. But more competitions for national teams, because when you go to these global tournaments, they expect you to perform miracles, but you haven't played enough competition because the game is the teacher.
Ladies football is on the uprise, and I want to be an advocate to show that they're rising slowly but surely, and they are better. They're getting better and better every time. And my dream is just for me to see them go from where they are to actually winning. I want us to be the first African country to win it. No pressure, coach, but it's possible.
I think more academies, in a sense, for boys and girls, so that they are able to, when they get to a certain level and a certain age, I think, to have competitive football.
I wish that we could play more games in front of bigger crowds, both male and female. The same atmosphere that you would get for Soweto Derby. I wish we could have it for every game, because I think that just brings us together. It creates a wonderful atmosphere, automatically attracts investors, and I don't think any voice is small. So just people showing up, I think, is a big thing for me.
With me, it's to play for my country in Olympics. Yeah, and also to be a professional player in all contexts, so that I can go back and give back to my community and host tournaments that can actually educate these young kids about life and some life skills. Yeah.
I think it's the structure. There isn't really much profit that is made in football, especially in SA, in regards to ticket sales or shirt sales or things like that. So if the structure is properly planned, we'd make sure that each and everything that we've just mentioned now would be correctly done.
Thank you everyone for being here, and thank you for FNB for allowing us this platform and showcasing how help changes everything, from the bottom all the way to the top and even post-career. Thank you so much.